All right, so we are into our week 12, which is the beginning of our Bootstrap Project Zero officially, although we talked about it last week. And I haven't read yet your feedback on the Project Zero category menu, but I'll do that on Thursday. Today's Monday, by the way, happy Halloween. So what I'd like to go over on this video is really how we're going to handle these three items, which is our normal items, but we're doing something a little different on them. So with Bootstrap, Bootstrap, if you don't know what Bootstrap is, it is a front-end framework for rapidly creating websites. And the reason I think it's important for you to get introduced to it here is that if when hopefully you're going to continue on and by the way take 85, which is creating websites, next semester with Todd McLeod. He's teaching it, and by the way you should be taking those right now, but in the 9-week last part of next semester, the 9-week session. In the front session I'm teaching this class again, and then in the back 9 we call it, he'll be teaching 85. Now the reason I'm bringing this up is that he teaches it as a pure no framework, really learning the HTML and CSS, which I think is optimal, but Bootstrap is so commonly used for many different reasons and many different ways. It's just good to know it. Okay, so I'm going to start here and I'll come back to the lecture in a minute. And the reason is I gave you a link here to a good article, I think. I looked at a couple, but oh, that's embarrassing. I have it right here. I'll make sure that link works to some of the top 10 frameworks in 2016, and Bootstrap is at the top of the list. I thought Foundation would be too. So semantic UI is something I hadn't known about, so I'll look into that. Materialize I knew, the Pure I knew, so I knew over half of these. And there are others that are starting to gain a lot of popularity that aren't on here, like Polymer and Material Design, which is an implementation of Polymer, which is an implementation of web components, but not to go too far yet. So coming back here, that's why we're using it for our Project Zero, so I'm giving you that hands-on experience with it, and because it is so popular, and when you continue taking classes you probably won't get other classes that cover it, and I think it's important for us to do so. So what I've decided to do here is I was looking today, so that's the other thing is about Bootstrap itself, is that, and I've given you a link to Bootstrap. Bootstrap is coming up on a version 4, so you're going to be trained on version 3 just because version 4 is not out yet, although I see people already starting to use it. And if you look down here, knowing what you know now about semantic versioning, you can see where the current version of Bootstrap is. Okay, so but you're going to be taking so back to lecture, right? So now we're on lecture. So just FYI, so let's go here. So for this week, we start in, for the next 4 weeks, covering this class. And it's only a year old, so it's still relevant. But so you'll do introduction, getting started, and working with Bootstrap. And we're also going to use this beginning part as something you do the hands-on. But I'm going to throw out this option again. You don't have to use it, but you can either take traditional notes if you want, or you can code along. Okay, so if you want to code along, what that would look like in this case is I'm in my Sublime text because we're going to be in here in a minute. So what you'd want to do here is create a new folder, and you'd want to call it training. Okay, and then under the training directory, it should have been there. Where'd it go? Was it just there and I didn't? Yeah, there it is. So in here is where you would put all the files that you end up creating, okay, for doing the trainings. So as you follow along doing the coding, is they're doing the coding, right? And the reason I'm having you put it in this directory is we will end up putting your Project Zero files in here, so I don't want them to get confused. So if you're going to do, so let's put that in your notes, if you're going to do the code along with the lecture for the next 4 weeks, and you could make a choice not to some weeks if you feel like you'd rather just cover the material. But I tell you, I think it's a better experience if you actually do the code along. But you know, I'm not going to force that upon you. I just think it's a great idea. So you'll just need to create that directory and then place all the files that you're going to code yourself along into that directory. And then at the end, you will do a normal push to your GitHub pages and then provide me the link. But if you do Google Docs, then you'll provide me that link here. So it really, I'm giving you two paths to get to this week. Okay. So, by the way, I think this training is very good. I think Ray Villalobos is awesome, and he does just a great job here. So, let's go back now and talk about the two other topics, or two other things, normal things, but how do we do them? So, for current topics, this should be relatively easy, but I think it's just good to do. Oh, actually, so in this case, actually, it's the hands-on. That's what I was thinking about. So now for current topics, I gave you this link and I'll make sure. Oh, I see. Actually, I can see already what it's broken. So I'll actually just show you. I don't think you guys see this you don't for my post, but I do. But you can for yours, right? I've shown you how to get into the HTML editor. So what I want you to do here is, because there are other CSS front-end frameworks, I want you to do some research, and you all have to choose a different one, right? So this link should now work. So don't select Bootstrap. There's enough here, and there's other ones you could search as well, but choose one of these, right? So first come, first serve on this. So make sure when you're posting, you see if other people have chosen this particular item before you start working on it. Okay, so because if I see two people choosing the same one, then I'll look at the latest post, meaning the person that chose it first, right? So just select one of these, and if you come back here, what I said, is let's each of you take a different one and then do some research, right, about the framework in details, and share some of your research. You could find some YouTube video that talks about it, just some general topics, because there are a lot that has been written on the most popular ones that are out there. So, and again, if you want to choose one that you know about, maybe even Polymer would be a good one. Polymer is a project out of Google. For those of you who went to DevFest, you heard quite a bit about Polymer if you went to some of the sessions. So you could choose that one as well. So, but just do some research about the framework and give us some details of what you found. 150 words, normal replies. Okay? And then and I'll update this. Give me your links too. Give me links to articles or videos that you found about that. Okay, so now on to our last thing, which is the hands-on for this week. And this one should be relatively easy, but just good to do, right? So the CDN, so in your notes, CDN, Content Delivery Network, you'll hear that in lecture as well. So that's fine. I want you to create just a basic page, right? And actually, I want you to use your index page to do this. You will end up doing this also if you're doing the training, but don't worry about that for now. I'm just going to walk you through how to create the CDN. And basically what that means is you're modifying your index file to point out to the internet for all the files needed for Bootstrap, because you could load them on your local computer, but you don't have to get up and running quickly. I believe through that training he does walk you through how to do that, but also if you go to their website for Bootstrap, they start talking about this as well, other ways to get it. We're going to talk a little about NPM later, but that is another way you could do it. But again, all these other processes, and this is what I want in your notes, takes what you're going to reference. So this is actually the link, the relative reference, the link reference, the link rel out to the Bootstrap that's out on the web. Okay, so by doing it this way, we don't have to load anything local. So I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to grab this link real quick, right? Because matter of fact, I'm not going to grab actually I could grab the comment as well. Now, there actually are themes, and we're going to start talking about themes next week, because I'm going to have you all choose a theme to implement your Project Zero. That way everybody gets a unique experience with that. So themes are ways that we can not only use Bootstrap, which is a framework, but then use somebody else's implementation of Bootstrap as a way to quickly and fairly easily get things loaded. So what I'm going to do now is I have my editor up, and then I have also, let's see where I have this at. I got so much loaded. Here it is. Right, so here I have my index file. Right, so the index file we've played with a couple times during this last couple weeks. Right, so I have the index file open, and here's what it looks like. And then all I have to do is go into the head section of my page, and generally you put it after the title, and I'm going to paste that long, right? That long link. So in this case, oh, why didn't it do that? Oh, tab over. So I like to just tab it so that it's all lined up. So in this case, that's really all you had to do here. Okay, so I want you to first, now to know that if it worked, I'm going to save my, right, so it's not saved, so I'm going to save it. Now it's saved. I'm going to come over here, and I can tell you just by doing this one step with no new HTML and hitting refresh, you will see a difference in the font, if nothing else. So yeah, so you can see that's, and when, by the way, you start seeing this, and once you see Bootstrap, you'll start realizing how many sites actually have Bootstrap on them, because there are many. Okay, so at this point, that's really all you need to do, but I want you to go ahead and do, right? So normal, so now I'm back at the command line, and I'm going to do a clear because I was here a minute ago. So I'm going to do a get status, right? So I would do a get add star, because all I did was modify that, and then I would do a get commit dash m, and my message would be adding Bootstrap to my index HTML file, and that, cool. And then I would do just a get push, right? So now I've pushed all that up to my GitHub pages, and then you can provide in here, right, for everyone. Yeah, actually, let's do this. Let's actually just so everybody can see. Actually, I don't care. You can either provide a link to your GitHub pages, or you can provide a print screen of your of this. And by the way, get used to this, right? The idea of having your editor and your output side by side, because coding is just so much easier this way. And another reason to use WebStorm is, honestly, in this case, it automatically saves, and there's ways you can do what's called live coding, live view, I can't remember, but whenever you make changes, it shows up over here. So just get used, I would say just get used to this. So actually, I think I'll just change my mind. I want you to actually set it up like this and do a print screen showing the two of them, because that's a very common thing to have, is to have both of them on the screen like that. So take your print screen, upload it. Oh, that's what we were going to do. That's right. Oh, let's do that. Okay, so actually, I think I remember that from last week. So I'm going to go ahead and take my print screen. Cool. Now mine happens to go on my desktop. I know. Right, so I'm actually going to do this. So I'm actually going to drop out for a second here, go find my print screen, which should be looking, here it is, right? So here's my file, right? So there's my file right there, right? So the first thing I would do is I'd want to open it, right? I'd want to open it and look at it. So that's my, let me bring it over here so you guys can see it, right? So here's my print screen. And then what I would do is I'd do File, Save As, and actually in Mac it's export. In Windows you have a similar thing. I'm going to export it. And you could change the file size, but I'm actually going to export it to, let's call it CDN, okay? And then I'm going to put it in my directory. So these are all good exercises. I'm going to put it in my 82. And I'm going to put it in here. Now, by the way, in here, I want you to create another new folder. So let's do that in the editor. I think that's a little easier to do it in the editor. Sorry about that. I had minimized it. Just got to bring it back real quick. Just because I like to do it in here, it's just a little nicer. So we'll do a new folder, and we'll call it images. Or you can call it images. You see this both ways are just IMJ. So now we have that images directory, right? So then now that I have it, let me go back to my save that I was doing here. So now I see that directory in there, right? I'm going to call it, you can't see this, but a PNG file, which is totally fine. It can either be a PMG, portable, or you can be a JPEG. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. Cool, it's saving it right now. And now, by the way, you will need to, let's do another get status, right? So now we have that file out there. So now add, commit that file, and then give me a link to that file that's out on your GitHub pages. That's a good experience to know how to do, okay? So I'm going to let you do that because that should be pretty straightforward. There's really nothing there different, except now we're up placing that, because whatever's in that subdirectory, right? Oh, by the way, I didn't do that, so we could do that as well. I just saved it, and the other thing I would do is, oh no, I did. I placed it in there, and how I would know is I go to my directory here under IMJ. I was looking at a print screen and not at the editor itself. So under my image, I'd have that CDN, which can look a little meta, right? So it actually looks like it's the print screen of the imager in the editor inside the editor. But that's the link you would give me out on your Bootstrap or out on your GitHub pages. Okay, I know I added something there at the end, so hang out and make sure you get it all so that you get all the points for that one. Have a good week. Talk to you next week.